So in this video, I'll take you through the process of setting up an analysis using the online analysis feature. So if you recall, I mentioned earlier that one of the requirements for an online analysis is that the assurance engine needs read-only credentials into the ACI fabric that you wish to connect with. So you can see here under the admin tab AAA, I've created a local user called Candid, and I've just given you an example of the read-only privileges that I've given this account. So back in the Network Assurance Engine, I need to go and create a second assurance group for purposes of online analysis. So back to the gearbox and choosing Assurance Group Configuration, let's go ahead and create another one here. And the process is almost identical with a few minor changes. So I'm going to give this a name and call it Online. It is automatically in online mode. So we need to give it a couple of extra pieces of data. And the first is read-only access into our ACI fabric. So if you recall, I created my Candid account and password. And then we can click Start immediately if that's what you desire. And then down here, we'll click and add the addresses, IP address or name of our APIC hosts. So in my particular case, I've only got one APIC, but if I had 3, which is a production deployment, I would click here and add all 3 APICs. And all I have to do here is then click Save, and then you can see that my assurance group configuration has been created. And after a second or two, you will see that the data collection automatically will begin running. So we're going to fast forward the video, and in just a few minutes, I'll come back and we'll have a look at some of the epics that were collected against a real ACI fabric. Okay, I want to very quickly review what the settings are for my online assurance group. So in the lower right hand corner of that group, I can click on the icon and have a look at the settings. Note that my analysis interval is 15 minutes. What that means is the Network Assurance Engine will run an analysis, an ongoing analysis, every 15 minutes from this point forward or until I come along and manually stop the analysis. So this will be a consistent, continual analysis into the future. So I've clicked back into the dashboard view of my Network Assurance Engine, and I just want to note that I wanted to make sure that I'm looking at the online assurance group and not the offline assurance group that I created earlier. Up at the top, you can see a timeline of all of the epics that have been collected thus far. And in my case, you can see that I've let the engine run for 2 cycles. But the timeline allows you to go back and look at things on a monthly level or a weekly level, or in the last 6 hours. You can even create a custom range. And if we look overall at the dashboard, we can see in just 2 cycles, I've already collected a lot of usable and somewhat interesting things that are happening against a real ACI fabric in my lab. So to quickly summarize on the dashboard, you can see a high-level overview of what we call smart events, all the way from critical down to informational. If we want to dig a little bit deeper, we can look at real-time change analysis. So you have the ability to see what changed in your operating environment between analysis. You can continue to delve even further by looking at tenant endpoints and seeing if there's any issues or assurances of behavior that you're looking for. You can look at tenant forwarding, things like VRFs and routes and stuff like that. And you can look into tenant security. These are things like contracts and assuring that certain endpoint groups can talk to other endpoint groups, what contracts are applied and when, and how many things like hit counts. And finally, you can look at things like capacity, like TCAM, and you can look at that down on an EPG level or a leaf level and find out where there might be hotspots in your environment. We will cover all of these in detail in future videos, but I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what kind of usable information the Assurance Engine can provide.